Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming Uranus Jupiter conjunction taking place either on the 20th or 21st of April 2024 in the sign of Taurus. Now, as you can see on my screen, where I live, it's taking place on the 21st, but if you live in the Americas, it is more likely to take place on the 20th, so keep that in mind. But of course, such a powerful and massive conjunction, it will not resume to the day, to the hour. It is a long-term effect, especially that these two planets open up their new cycle. They close their old cycle, which we're going to speak about in just a few moments, and open up a totally new one specific to the energy, symbolism, and expression of Taurus, which we're also going to be speaking about just a bit. But this is really, really important and impactful. So basically, we can already feel this energy. It's already setting itself up and it's already charging our everyday lives with its specific. And it's specific. The keywords here is one of them is electric, strongly electric, because both of these planets and their mythological character symbolism had a lot to do with thunder, wind, storm, electricity, so to speak, lightning. What's hotter than the sun here on Earth? A lightning. Of course, you need to look into this in which way it is hotter, but a lightning bolt produces insane amounts of energy. So even if lightning strike has been with us ever since, let's say, our creation, we observed it, we not even to this day, we have quantum computers, right? And all the quantum stuff and quantum physics and atom splitting. And we still fully do not understand and know the mysteries of the lightning. So this says already, a lot about what is upcoming. And as I said, this is already ongoing. We can already feel it, at least in one area of life, an anticipation, an anxiety. When I say anxiety, it's not necessarily the typical kind of anxiety. It is more like an anxiety specific to the spikes in Schumann resonance, hand in hand with this astrological phenomenon, where your nervous system is simply just on fire, maybe sometimes for no logical apparent reason. And this is already also, within nature. So it's not just as human beings feeling this, but everything in nature, Taurus. It is the earth. And the very recent weather phenomenons, calamities, especially volcanic activities like in Italy, Iceland, um, earthquakes, and other very symbolic events, especially that Uranus rules technology. So big technological mishaps, let's say, for example, a piece of outer coverage flying off the wing of the Boeing plane. That's so Uranus and Jupiter, especially their more benevolent expression, the awareness. Imagine if it's not just the outer covering. So, a symbolic accident in order to prevent a massive catastrophe. And it's up to us. The choice is truly ours, Jupiter. If we want to listen, then of course we take action. If we want to ignore, we ignore. And ignorance is also going to be a key theme here because of an asteroid conjunct to the degree with um, Jupiter and Uranus at the moment when they perfect their meeting in the sky. And that is asteroid Pandora. Again, this speaks volumes, but again, details a little bit later on. So this effect is also going to stay with us all throughout the year. In the month of April, May, without even a shadow of a doubt, because, you know, calamities and earth events and socio-economic, political earthquakes and changes and Uranian moves like rebellion or sudden change are gonna play out in chains one after another. But the whole year is gonna have this Uranian vibe on it, and also the next 13 years, because that is every 13 or 14 years is when Jupiter and Uranus meet in the sky and they open up their specific cycle. So, but when I say this 13-year, the long term, well, that is not immediate, if you know what I mean. We would only be able to analyze it more objectively at the very end of that cycle, you know. So at the present moment, we can't even speak about that. However, let us begin this analysis by speaking about the previous cycle. In 2010, there was, how should I say, longer term Uranus and Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Pisces. It started in the sign of Pisces, but then these two planets danced together also in Aries a little bit. So it's so and so, it's mixed energy. But I'm, for example, Pisces the end, Aries the beginning, and Uranus technology. And of course, Jupiter, very, very comfortable in Pisces because it's the co-ruler, ancient ruler. Spirituality, truth, justice, secrets being exposed, big conspiracies, and a certain kind of collective hype. Uranus, the hype around secrets and, you know, the shadow, Pisces, everything that's under the veil of mystery and spirituality. So right now I'm going to be speaking more about the Pisces expression because that is where it started. And so that is where it began, it opened the cycle. But the Aries expression was also very obvious, where a lot of violence took place, terrorism, Jupiter, religion, you know, Aries, religion, fight for religion, and Uranus, the eruption, the shock of it. So it was really charged. But the Pisces expression, so technology, Uranus met spirituality ever since. Maybe it goes before 2010, but after 2010, this really spread like wildfire, so to speak, where technology met spirituality. Certain apps appeared, programs, online consultations. That is when the online medium became a habitat almost for any type of spiritual work, from Reiki to, and new currents appeared. And technology was in a way embraced by spirituality and vice versa. Because, of course, since the 90s, or even before that, I cannot say that technology was like a contradiction to spirituality and spiritual means, but it wasn't very friendly one with the other, because one is empirical knowledge, and that in a way limits spirituality, and spirituality clouds, washes over empirical knowledge. It makes it obsolete. You don't need to know if you believe. You know what I mean? But since that conjunction in 2010, sorry, they really became like partners in so very many different ways. Jupiter was also part of the game, on our higher understanding, and in a way, justice. Justice, as in we looked back at the past, what happened, how it happened, what was moral, what was not so moral. So from 2010 onwards, the past was really dug up, in so very many different ways, politically, culturally, historically, archaeologically, paleontologically. You know what I mean? And also, we discovered ancient technology in a way that, in an archaeological means, but interpreting it with our present day conscious, we see the amazement, the wonder in it. And this is where the mystery thickens even deeper than that. So just imagine how our spiritual principles and basically our perception of spirituality, Jupiter higher perception, and also Uranus, the higher mind, change and transformed from a spiritual perspective. And also this conjunction took place at around 27 degrees of Pisces, which means the third decan of Pisces, Scorpionic decan, exactly the secrets, the mystery, but also the undoing of the self. Modern psychology, when it's starting to take like extreme turns, that is doing more damage than good, and collective manipulation and all of that done through technology, all Pisces. And Neptune at this very moment is activating that very area of the sky, going over it back and forth, because it's going to go retrograde as we speak. So, a lot is still built on that past conjunction. But that's Pisces. Totally different energy, totally different expression, totally different everything. If we want to look at how it played out in Taurus, then we have to take a look at 1941, because that was the year when this Jupiter and Uranus conjunction took place in Taurus. And I might be mistaken, but I hope I'm not. If I remember correctly, it also coincided with a Saturn conjunction. So it wasn't just Jupiter Uranus, it was separately, of course. Jupiter first conjuncting with Saturn, then moving on to Uranus. So, and I do believe that the Jupiter Saturn conjunction was in 40, but I might be mistaken. Anyway, 41 is the year. Just take a look at everything that happened. Economically, especially, wars were playing out in the world. Our very understanding of value and what power it holds over us. Now, I don't want to get into details because this would be really dark waters that I would be diving into. But I don't even know how to suggest this. Look at what happened World Bank wise, economically, and with certain kind of businesses, boycotting businesses, and where all of that led to in those years. Let's not just take 41. Let's take the larger period. You know what I mean? So that speaks of itself. The same, very similar patterns are playing out today, but at the same time, it has to be radically and totally different today. Why? Because we are different. Everything about us is different. So it has to play out in a totally different way. And another year that I really want to remind us of is the year 2000. Why? Because we didn't have a Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, but we did have a Jupiter and Saturn, a great conjunction. And that was the last great conjunction for that period in Earth sign. Because in 2020, the great conjunction took place, opening this new cycle at that notorious 0 degrees of Aquarius, where Pluto is hovering over as we speak. Pluto is now at 2 degrees of Aquarius, but it will retrograde back and reactivate that 0 degrees. And this also closed great conjunction taking place in Earth signs. For the next 200 years, it will take place predominantly in air signs. So that was the last finishing earthly great conjunction. How radically our lives changed from 2000, how radically technology evolved. Well, you might say, well, Uranus wasn't there, so why technology? Well, a new paradigm, Jupiter, the expansion, Saturn, it had to take off its limitations. Simple as that. So Taurus, the earth, and also our collective value system, we desired technology to grow. We aspired to this. So it happened. We manifested it basically. And it quantum leaped into what we have today. So I don't even need to speak any more of this because that is so very obvious, so very easy to understand. Now, after mentioning these historical dates, another important element here is that this conjunction is taking place at 21 degree 49 minutes of Taurus, which is a critical degree. 21, 22 degrees of fixed signs are considered critical. So anything that happens here has its symbolism amplified, amped up. It is more extreme, more radical, more important, more impactful. More impactful physically because it's earth energy, earth sign, fixed earth. So it's not just fixed like Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, but it's especially fixed because it's earth. And it has to be that way, of course. But this makes this energy pretty uncomfortable. It has a very uncomfortable side and feeling to it. But we can see that nature herself, the spikes in the Schumann resonance are nature's way of expressing her discomfort. And we also are in that phase where animals behave weirdly and stuff like that, especially sea animals. So yeah, there's that side. So now I'm gonna say a few words about the classic expression, what we can expect, but this is something you're gonna hear from every astrologer because it is just common sense. First of all, Taurus, the physical element, the calamities, earthquake, tectonic movements, the earth basically upgrades itself. It changes the landscape. So there is this part. Jupiter expands it. So it's more active than usually. Ever since this Uranus entered Taurus, 2018, if I'm not mistaken, 19, something like that. It was activated by Mars every 2 or so years. It was activated by, other energies, let's say. And it always played out as something shocking and even as some kind of calamity. But Jupiter is on a whole other level. It expands it. So we have to expect things to be really, really dynamic. Let's say it like that. And also Uranus, places where there's like an accident waiting to happen, it chances are it might happen. So if you have a business, home or whatever, make sure you check everything that is health and safety related. So this affects, as I said, accidents waiting to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to be misfortunate in any other way. Because Uranus is awareness. Jupiter is truth. So if, there is like a big hazard somewhere, well, this energy lights the match. You know what I mean? It's not malevolent. It is just raising our awareness to the fact that let us not allow accidents waiting to happen to happen. You know what I mean? Responsibility, diligence, that's in a way also Jupiter, the wisdom of it. Then the other element is, of course, financial. Banking, World Bank, economics, value, anything related to also technology, cryptocurrency, new, but let's not forget the new. Uranus, the revolutionary aspect. Being born, okay, there's instability. There is so much going on. It's like a roller coaster ride. Even personally speaking, it can be like that financially. Do I invest? Do I not invest? Do I risk? Do I not? My job is unstable. Life is unstable. Everyday routines are unstable. We are not living in our comfort. Other people are, how should I say, fang and claw gripping to their last piece of comfort. And this energy is not allowing. So it disrupts our lives, but it disrupts it economically, both collectively and individually. So we can expect a lot of surprises, let's say like that. Of course, the rule with Uranus, what you expect, chances are it's not that. So it's going to be surprising and shocking anyway. But with Jupiter, there has to be some benevolence there. So regardless of how the storm looks like, we have to trust the process. It is for the greater good. As I said with the accident waiting to happen, it still is for the greater good because it does some damage, but who knows how many future damages it prevents, you know? And besides this, another thing that points to the fact that it is benevolent, regardless of how it will look like when it happens. It leads to upgrade, quantum leap, benevolent outcome, evolution, growth, upgrade, that it is trining. So harmony, flow, blessing. The point of the 12th of January 2020, Saturn, Pluto, Sun, Mercury, Ceres conjunction, that big destiny altering event that changed the world forever. So this activates it with a trine, blessing. And that also, that was a Saturnian energy. So however we upgraded our lives starting from that moment, 2020, whatever sacrifices we took, went out of our comfort zones, went through powerful transformation and changes, this energy will feel like a blessing because it rewards all that effort, sacrifice, Jupiter, understanding, wisdom, that we followed through the guidance. Those individuals who chose rather to rebuild that which they already had, to fix, to go on with the same routine and pattern, those might find this energy more uncomfortable because it pushes them in the new without warning. You know what I mean? Which means that the past has to collapse, even if it's fully functional, even if it's doing okay. They're already in the future. Something happens in their lives which makes them have to abandon that which they fixed. So it's still for the greater good. The other element to this is values. It is a deeply psychological energy as well. What is it that we are falling? And I'm speaking totally collectively here, but individually as well, because that's Uranus, both the collective and the individual. What are we starting to fall in love with? And certain key themes here are already known. For example, nature, naturalism. Uranus rebellion. Look at the protests in Europe where farmers are saying no to the ridiculous laws and rules, Jupiter, legal system. They're saying, no, this is ridiculous. It doesn't even have common sense. Leave us alone. That's scary and not nice, not pleasant for anyone. But it will lead to somewhere. And why? But why does it happen? Because farmers love their lives, livelihoods, what they do, nature. That's their life. They love it. Of course they love it. Love. So that means people are falling back in love with nature. Simplicity, Taurus. Jupiter says we don't need anything complicated, complex. Quantic, doesn't need to be complicated. It can be very simple in a certain, it is hyper complicated by its nature, but it has also very simple side. This is what we learned when the nodes of the moon were in Taurus Scorpio axis in 2021, 2022, if I'm not mistaken, or 2022, 2023. Anyway, 2022. Anyway, we learned to release the complicated, the unnecessary, the deep details that just make things complicated, Scorpio, and embrace simplicity, nature, common sense values, Taurus. So nature is one of these elements. But where is the collective trend going? This is where everyone is starting to prefer the simple yet very giving. For example, artistically, no one cares, or actually, this is no. People are starting to care less, this is the right way to say it, about the big names, big brands. They are starting to care much more about the artist next door or the neighbor who isn't even an artist but has an artistic talent. There's where the other neighbor, instead of going to the big brand or the artist, goes to the neighbor and bugs the neighbor, Uranus, please do this for me. And they come insistently. The neighbor has enough and says, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. And the end result is something absolutely amazing. And you see how the talented neighbor was forcefully upgraded to become aware of their own skill and potential, Uranus, Jupiter, while the other neighbor received something totally unique. And that their Venus was deeply satisfied, because that's also quantum. Instead of the infinite possibilities of the internet online stores, the quantum Venus of the neighbor found that she can only find satisfaction if she forces the talented neighbor to, do their stuff. That's quantum entanglement in a really Uranian and Jupiterian way. This is just an values are changing. What we love, what we hold valuable is changing. Aesthetically, artistically, in any way, shape, and for Taurus, the five senses, food, diet, preferences, even our relationship with technology, Uranus is changing. Parts of it are embraced because it can do so much good, greater good, help out nature. This is where we become guardians, caretakers of nature with it. But there's the other side, the dark side, where the harm it can do, and it can rip us away from nature forever, make us unnatural, especially psychologically, value systems, what is common sense, what is tradition for us, especially our youth. That's where the danger lies, you know? If people grow up from day zero in a not real internet, not real. It's real, but not real in nature's, vision. It's not all that real. You can imagine that that's not going to lead to something healthy. So again, this is part, but all of this is still inner value system. All of this is still psychological energy. So, and it gets us out of our comfort zones. If we love something, someone even, for many people, this is going to be fifth house, seventh house, eighth house. So it might have either love, passion, or sensuality, agreement to it. So it might be very romantic, but it forces us to be honest on one hand with ourselves, and on this element of honesty is ensured by Pluto squaring the Sun in Taurus by this moment, at the time of this conjunction. A reality check, an honesty, and this can play out as finally we acknowledge that we need to go with the times, adapt, and lose everything that holds us back, but may those be people, connections, friends, principles, morals, a worldview, anything real or just principalistic in nature that is not in accordance or goes even against the future currents, the times. We become aware that either we break in, either we start adapting, or we're going to be lost in time, in everything. A reality check. It's not a comfortable energy, but it tells us what we need to do to adapt, and what it is that we hold on to that is like a boulder tied to our feet, let's say, ankles, Aquarius. And we have to swim because the tides, or we have to quantum leap. The boulder cannot be there because it will not be okay. And this will reveal what the boulder is. You know what I mean? So it's an energy that we need to work with and integrate, even if it's uncomfortable. Perhaps, abandoning exactly those deeply rooted principles and morals or connections or whatever it may be that rooted you deeply in the old paradigm in the world pre-2020, that gave you power, security, control. Abandoning those is so hard and even, let's say, painful, but it's a must, because we need to embrace this energy. We must work with it. Wherever it invites us out of the comfort zone, if we are wise, we follow, because it will make it that much more easy for us. The daredevils will choose to use this opportunity as a ride because they will be on a catapult. But for them, it's fun. While other people, especially those who cling on to the stability and the past, for them, it's gonna be scary. So we are wise to allow this energy to settle in, as random, chaotic, surprising, shocking as it may be. We need to be cooperative with this, because cooperation means that much fluidity, easiness. And cooperation doesn't mean blind surrender. Cooperation means wisdom, self-knowledge, and being connected also to instinct and honesty with your own value, honesty with what you love, honesty with what you no longer love, because that's also part of the deal. Even artistically in Hollywood, big figures are no longer as much loved as they once were. Some were and are even attacked, let's say. So, absolutely, that's also part of this energy. And speaking about love, the ruler is Venus, because this takes place in her home sign of Taurus, the embodied Venus, the earthly Venus, and Venus herself. And I'm going to highlight this, is in the sign of Aries, not all that comfortable and conjunct Chiron. This also has to be a healing energy. Chiron, actually, I wanted to say it's holding a semi-sextile, but it's not anymore. But anyway, it's an energy which also means healing our value system, upgrading, Aries, our primal way of being, because primal doesn't mean it's like that forever and ever and ever. That which is primal, even that will have to upgrade. It's a lower part of us. Aries, for example, is more the root chakra, a lower part of us. But when we quantum leap, even the lower part will have to take on a higher expression than it once did. So this energy upgrades what love, value, Venus attraction, especially in the sign of Aries, how we go after what we want. Why? This conjunction holds a sextile with Mars in the sign of Pisces. Sextile, a harmonious celestial conversation, going after what we want. And Pisces is exactly that psychology, focusing on what we need to focus because that works best for us, hence self-knowledge, understanding ourselves, both in an elevated way, Uranus, or in a more, let's say, philosophical way, Jupiter, but also in a instinctual and, primal way, Aries. And Venus in Aries, Chiron, healing our primal wounds, healing the I am wound. But sometimes the I am wound only heals if we get out of the circumstances that aggravated the wounding, getting out of our comfort zones. Um, this reminds me of the experiment where they put a frog in warm water and they very slowly heated the water up to a boil. Because they slowly heated it, the frog adapted and it didn't feel the moment when it was too much. And it just stayed there comfortably. It didn't feel the pain. The same goes with wounds. After a while, it doesn't hurt. It becomes so part of you. But this energy needs to heal that, cauterize it, push you out of the comfort zone. Everything that the warm water, so to speak, Mars in Pisces, exactly that. It pushes you out before it boils. I know it's a sextile, but Mars is very close to the star of shipwrecks. So this energy may also bring out certain symbolic events at sea, shipwrecks, but in any way, shape, and form, discovering shipwrecks and what archaeological discoveries they bring Uranus, or problems at sea, ships sinking, but that has a greater consequence to it, financial, economic, or otherwise, political, or, all of that. So there's that, more fated mystical element to the sextile where something very symbolic and relevant happens at sea. Um, Another aspect is that it trines Black Moon Lilith. Now, what can I say other than the instinct? Because Lilith in the sign of Virgo, another earth sign, is our deep instinct and the instinctual common sense, nature's very own intelligence and common sense. We are in tune with it, connected to it, just like animals know where they're going, know where they're migrating. They're never misguided. They they are always guided by nature's very own GPS. We're also in a way animals, not in a Virgo sense, because Virgo rules animals which are smaller than a goat. But we also have nature's very own inner intelligence and quantum computer, in a sense, running through us. The core of the earth, that's the earth's quantum computer. So we also have an inner sun that's our own quantum computer, the gut, the intelligence of the gut. Black Moon Lilith in the trine is wonderful here. So another element here is that Black Moon Lilith's opposite, White Moon Selena, is also part of this. So White Moon Selena is our soul's highest expression. It is at 22 degrees, but it's still a conjunction, and it trines Black Moon Lilith at the same time. So you see this synchronicity almost. The two lunar energies, opposites of one another, are in supreme harmony at this. The soul wants to get us there. Both the primal, the instinctual, even the dark, the aggressive elements of the soul, like Moon Lilith, and also the highest, the more divine, benevolent aspects of the soul, White Moon Selena. And White Moon Selena in the sign of Taurus reminds me of Artemis, the virgin huntress, or Diana, lunar entities who always aided heroes. So White Moon Selena being here is like a saving grace, because there is one thing that can shape chaos, not perfectly, not always, but that is love, hope, and benevolence. These three elements are in a way tied together. Love many times is hand in hand with hope, and that is great benevolence. You know what I mean? That's White Moon Selena, the magic within nature, the power of nature, but in a higher than 3D sense. So I really, really love this. Another energy that is really benevolent is that it also holds a trine with planetoid Ceres. So that would be a grand trine if we count Black Moon Lilith in. Not perfect, because Ceres is at almost 20 degree of Capricorn, but Ceres is nurture, food aid perhaps, because Jupiter is generosity, giving, in Taurus, giving. And in Virgo, there is no choice now, Black Moon Lilith, the rebellion, but to give. The medical crisis, Black Moon Lilith and Virgo, amplifying it. So this is good news in that sense. And also, in disregarding this, we find nurture for our being. Nurture, which also feeds the instinctual self, Lilith and Virgo. Also, the highest self, White Moon Selena in Taurus, Jupiter. And needless to say, Uranus, our higher thinking, our supreme intelligence. So I also find this absolutely wonderful and a much needed energy, because we had so much not so favorable expression of the Uranian energy. Remember 2020, 2021, the Saturn Uranus squares? Those were really, really hard. The restrictions, the confinement, the censorship, and all of that. And I would like to leave two very minor and almost symbolic elements last, which you won't even be able to see in my chart. I'll just mark approximately where they are. One of them is a trans-Neptunian object, which is named Lempo. Now, Lempo in mythology, it is part of Finnish mythology, if I'm not mistaken, is like a love, sex, fertility deity. But it is also seen as like approximately an incubus, not necessarily a malevolent, but a really naughty, mischievous, fun loving entity, which does certain fun activities which are not maybe all that much fun for the victim. But anyway, in astrology, Lempo is exactly just like the entity where attraction gets us to, the power of attraction. It can get us to something unexpectedly good, but it can also get us into trouble. So Lempo is at 23 degrees of Taurus. So both Jupiter and Uranus are yet to conjunct it. But, as I said, for some people, this is fifth house, seventh house, eighth house. So it might have a lot of relationship or sensual, romantic, sexual energy attached to it. Lempo, getting out of our comfort zones, well, it is going to be a must. But how far do we go with it? You know what I mean? Let us not go into extremes, or if we do go, then we must accept that that might be a one-way ticket where we simply end up in a new personal dimension. Life is not going to be the same again after. There's no going back, so to speak. And I know that Saturn is not directly involved here, but this energy is gonna play tricks on our sense of time. Mandela effect signs are gonna be all over out there, even where we notice stuff personally. Maybe we remember our own personal history totally differently than what the evidence shows, like photographs, for example. Maybe some don't make sense. Maybe some to you never happened, but it's there. It's there in front of your eyes. You cannot deny the evidence, but for you, it never happened. Or vice versa. Things are going to be weird. The Twilight Zone, again, that's without a shadow of a doubt. But in love, Lempo, see where it guides you. I'm not even sure if there's a valuable, wise guidance with this. You have to follow through the quantum leap and see where you end up. Even if you end up in, let's say, trouble, it is still an upgrade. It is still a truth of yours that you need to look at and embrace. If you were curious enough to follow through, that means that there is a lack or there is a stagnation within your heart or values or what you love or who you love or relationship or anything like that. So this is one thing. But something another, and this is an asteroid, that I find so very relevant. It is Pandora. Now, is this conjunction going to open Pandora's box? Now, a few words about Pandora's box. So the mythology goes like that. Zeus, when Prometheus gave the fire, etc., etc., also uh, gave to Prometheus his brother Pandora with the jar, a box, let's say, which contained all the evils of the world. Now, of course, Pandora opened it out of curiosity, Uranus. You know what I mean? But hope, the power of hope remained. So the power of hope, if we want to look at it in a negative sense, false expectations. Hope can be like, windmill, chasing windmills, Don Quixote. But that is a very earthly, bad Taurian way of looking. Taurus looks at life like this sometimes when they're in really foul mood. You know what I mean? But the right Jupiter, the right way to choice is ours. Sextile Mars and Pisces, remember? Pisces, the choice is ours. The meaning we want to give to it. This time, the universe is not coming with the meaning. The universe is coming, I want you, the individual, to give it the meaning. Use your imagination, fantasy, philosophy, faith, whatever you want. Give it meaning. So it is us who give it the meaning. Hope can be seen as the supreme power in the universe because it does not die ever. There's a saying in my culture that the last thing to die is hope. Exactly. But regardless of how this plays out, even in the most positive sense, curiosity got us somewhere surprisingly wonderful. But you can imagine with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, Pluto is exactly what's in the jar, and Pandora conjunct the ruler of Aquarius, Uranus. Technology will definitely open Pandora's box. What is on, and to me, personally, this is the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, Geneva, where they upgraded it, and it has a capacity like it never has before. Now, that Large Hadron Collider really, really affected our collective psyche and consciousness a lot. How should, like, let me just give you the example. When you walk under super high pressure wires, cables, like, for example, certain parts of train station, especially the engineering docks or whatever, you get a headache immediately. You feel it in your brain, physically, you feel it. Whenever that thing runs, okay, but the knowledge it gives us, that knowledge is the gateway to the abyss. Because we are going down, not up. We're going down to Pluto. Because we're splitting it and splitting it and splitting it. That's the gateway to the abyss. But anyway, what will opening Pandora's box do? This can also represent the brain, Uranus. Because the Uranus is the highest expression of nervous system. That's the brain waves. Technology, microchips. How moral is that Jupiter, the law, legislation, legal system, how in tune with nature it is. And also, let us look at Jupiter for a moment. Jupiter's version of conjunction with Pandora, the law. We are going to have we will open even legally Pandora's box, give way to legislation which allows what? You know what I mean? What is allowed? Because if we allow collective insanity, let me give you an example, and this is bad. Because a lot of people are going to say I'm judgmental, but please don't understand it from a way of judgment. Understand it simply the theory of law, like a discipline that you learn at that law school, sorry. When you allow someone to think that they're a cat, but they're not, you know what I mean. Certain people who think that they're animals like the doggy, cat, or whatever, and you force everyone else to make it real, as in to believe in it, even if they don't want to. Why do they want to? Because physical reality says the opposite, nature says the opposite. That's when we open Pandora's box. Because that's a bad way to use the power of law and belief. Because I don't, I don't even know why. Everyone decide for themselves why it's not all that good, but it will also have a good side to it, of course, because a lot of things are going to be permitted. Is that good or is that not good? I don't know. I can't be the judge of this. So Pandora's box. And without, last but not least, without a shadow of doubt, new technology, the likes of which we never even dreamed of, is gonna show up. Is that gonna be AI or holograms? Why do I say holograms? The ruler is Venus. You know what I mean? Chiron. Healing something with illusion, for example. That's not all that bad. Holograms. You're lonely, a hologram might be a really good company for you. This is just an example, but that's a rather Taurian expression. What you love. So, in a totally different way, for example, stuff that has to do with genetics, we're also going to be seeing new discovery, new technology, agriculture, all of that. But that all of that is something that we, can already see play out in the world stage, especially that ever since Uranus entered Taurus, those truly became powerful key themes. So the best advice that I can give is that by now you know where life was, not just this year, but these past couple of years, inviting you to leave your comfort zone. You already know what in your life needs that urgent upgrade. And at this moment, the best thing to do is to follow the course of where these energies have want to take you. And at the same time, however this Uranus surprises you, this energy, of course, it plays out in a very personal, direct way. If we have any planet either at the 2021 degree, 19 to 22 degree, let's say, of Taurus or any fixed signs, of course that we're going to be feeling this deeply personally. But for everyone else, it may not do all that radical, you know, uh, geostorm type of energy in your life where an area changes that radically, but the world changes, someone's life in your family is undergoing a big change, in your community, something will still drag you in there. So you know what I mean? It really doesn't matter all that much if this hits your life in persona directly, or if this is something that either way will take you there. You know what I mean? So this is the type of energy where we really, really need to embrace however it comes in our lives, even if it comes through a little bit scary. For example, the company that you don't even consider leaving. Out of a sudden, it gets into trouble. Trust that it will lead you where you truly need to be. Because things that are ending don't have to be bad at all, but no good thing lasts forever. Ever. All good things come to an end once. All of them. So, but wherever something will, without a shadow of a doubt, start in its place, take its place. So the best thing to do is to try and be as cooperative, but in a really wise way, as and self-knowledge, as I said, as we possibly can. And perhaps the essence here, love is the greatest power. Warrior Venus in Aries, and the ruler of this sign, with Chiron, a warrior of healing, a warrior of love. Love has to burst also like a volcano. Love has to basically conquer our hearts, because if it does, this energy can truly take us into, symbolically, to understand paradise. So thank you everyone for listening. I do hope that this was useful, and I'm wishing everyone the best possible surprises at this conjunction. I'm wishing everyone the most delightful, the most Venusian expression of this energy. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye for now.